Hey Ian, alright, so here is your Starseed reading, your spread here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at where you were and what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with relationships and feelings, and another one down here, the death and lesson learned, and we'll put time away. So just keep in mind, I'm going to just relay to you images and impressions that are coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through, alright? And I'll try to help however I can. So keep in mind there are a couple of ways to make connections. There's direct and opposite. Direct connections is when you can directly connect with the information coming through. An opposite connection is like, for example, if someone were to die from in a past life or another time of, we'll say like smoking, they would come back and likely be allergic to smoke or not want to be around smoke or can't stand the smell of it because their soul or our souls want to experience very different things, okay? So that's how you can be making different kinds of connections, so to speak, all right? So keep in mind, a starseed reading, we're looking at a non-human being. This could be an entity that is identifiable, like based on, you might have been reading up on different kinds of starseeds, but it can also be given to us in a way that's just a description of what it looks like, what it feels like, because there's so many races and beings and interdimensional energies out there that, of course, we don't have them all, but I can relay what they're giving me, okay? So let's go ahead and begin, and before we get into this part, I do want to say, as I was shuffling and laying the spread in the first place, what came through was, that game that you might have played when you were a kid, or at least you heard about it, I imagine, or hope so. It's the Simon game, where you tap the colors and it makes sounds, and you want to keep tapping them to repeat the sound and colors being made until you can't, and it speeds up. You know that game? I think it's just simply called just Simon. And if you haven't heard of it, please go look it up. But that's what's coming through, or that's what came through as I was laying this out. So you might be able to make a connection to that now, or we might be able to make a connection as we move through the reading. But what it felt like it had to do with was the idea of utilizing color and sound. And it's like almost like that brings a harmonizing effect in the sense of, and again, I don't know what you're into, but there are healing modalities that have to do with color frequencies and sound frequencies. So if you have ever been into that, or you find yourself getting into that, that could very well be why it's coming through as a connection, and it probably will be connecting here from the feel of it. Also keep in mind that your job is to resonate and connect with what you can, but don't force anything. And then what you don't resonate or connect with now, you just want to tuck in the back of your mind for a later time, because days, weeks, months, year later, things might pop up, because a lot of times we get things that are going to help in like the time to come, with things happening or going to happen. Okay, so this card here, where we're going, this is always laid out for starseed readings, because this is kind of like, I want to say, not of our dimension, because this could be Earth. If you've ever heard of inner Earth, or there's even, different parallel dimensions existing within the Earth or in this planet, that doesn't have to do with our dimension. So it doesn't necessarily mean off Earth, but mostly it does. And it feels like this is off Earth. At least right now, it feels like it's off Earth. So what's coming to mind is the idea that this being here, quite frankly, feels equivalent to what we would consider the energy of a dragon. So it's like when you picture a dragon, or you feel a dragon in your mind's eye, like you're imagining a dragon, or maybe when you see a dragon, whatever it might be, it holds a certain energy. There's a frequency to it. It has a feeling about it. That's what we want you to tap into right now. As far as a connection being made to the dragon, it could be that you've enjoyed dragons in general. It could be like, oh, that's your favorite mythical creature. And it could be if you see them in movies or read about them in books or whatever it might be, you might have always felt a connection to them, or found them fascinating or beautiful or magnificent or whatever it may be. And if not, that's totally fine. But it feels like we're looking at a dragon coming through, and there's something about, again, the dragon that is has to do with the aesthetic. Just like the Simon game with the color frequency, there's something about the dragon's frequency that I feel is, it's like for purpose. So what they're showing me is like this dragon, the skin or scale, whatever you want to call it, has a glint to it that's kind of like mother of pearl. Which, by the way, if you've ever felt connected to mother of pearl, whether it's the stone itself or the color, that shimmery effect, you know how it has that like oily color effect when it shimmers? Like, it's really pretty. It's almost ethereal, I want to say, so it's not like one solid color. That would be a connection as well. But even more so, there's something specific about it that's coming through where when you look at a mother of pearl, like the color, the shimmer, how it holds multifaceted colors within a single, I want to say a single dose, so to speak. There's so much within one dose of mother of pearl that's like it contains multiple frequencies within one thing. I feel like this is connecting to something that, okay, like it's not just this, there's something about it. So however you can connect with that, it's almost like I want to say this is within the dragon being, and I want to say this aspect is you. We're looking at you and a dragon aspect of you, and within this aspect of you, you contain multiple frequencies that are of a healing nature, but it's more than that. I want to say when we're talking about containing, it's almost like I want to say you might not be aware of, or you may be aware but are not allowing yourself to believe that you contain multiple and various healing energies within you that can be utilized not just for yourself but others as well. So I don't know if you are into healing, because there's so many modalities. Like, people don't realize that even just being someone where their friends or even strangers come to them to tell them about their problems, yeah, it might sound like a burden, but that's a healing energy of someone. That means that there is an energy or aura about that person that allows other people to alleviate the burden of their hurt to that person. Whether it comes across, it might come across as like complaining or whining, but they also might not be able to talk to someone how they're talking to you, like that kind of thing. Even that is healing. So being a good listener is actually a healer, and people don't realize that. Just like being a teacher, conveying information to students in order for the students to expand and grow in their consciousness and physicality and emotionality, like that is a healer. So I want to say this is coming up almost like for you to realize or recognize that there are certain parts about you that you have not allowed yourself to give a label to. Not that we need labels, but humans like labels, but almost like for your own growth, allow yourself to believe in yourself more. Maybe you've even had certain instances or circumstances happen where you have felt yourself heal another person in such a way where, yeah, it could be energy work if you're into that, but it might not be like, oh, there, you are healed. It might not be like that. Again, listener, teacher, like there are very normal things that we do as humans that we don't recognize are very powerful, energetic healing mechanisms, you know, even our voices. And I feel like that's bringing me around to that Simon game we were talking about when it comes to even your voice. Your voice has sound frequency. You think sound frequency is not healing? Has anyone ever told you that your voice is soothing, that your voice is calming, that your voice is motivating, that your voice, you know what I mean? If you've ever gotten that kind of thing before, that is part of your healing ability. And then here we have the healer card actually. So also it feels like as we look at the healer card too, and we're talking about this dragon aspect, also it's the idea of assigning certain definitions, I want to say, to the dragon that might not pertain to the dragon collective. Like some people who might not, well, here's the thing, to everyone it may be different, but let's say people, like there might be someone that's like, oh, dragons are evil or bad or like scary, and it's like, well, why don't we just like switch the definition around and let's dive into the dragon aspect a little more and see like, oh, it's actually like very wise and powerful and stable and grounded and healing and masterful and da 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 da, you know what I mean? Like, so it's almost like make sure that your perspective on certain, I feel like for that, literally look at your life and where your perspective on certain things holds what you might consider a negative definition to it, like where you are placing negative feelings into things that, not that they're not negative, so to speak, but that you don't understand. And look at those things and try to find the positive aspects or qualities in those things, even if you have to keep your previous negative feeling about it. Try to find more about it, meaning do the work or research to understand it more fully so that you can kind of utilize it to your own advantage. And I feel like this is coming through in the way of life in general. Like when it comes to people that you might be around, the idea of like, oh, someone gives you a bad vibe, that's fine. But widen or expand your perspective in the sense where if you can understand their backstory, you can also see how they might be a certain way or give off a certain vibe as, let's say, a survival mechanism versus actually being a dick. You know what I mean? And that in that way, that expands your consciousness and that clears up a lot of space in yourself because it's not busy anymore not liking someone. Now it's busy understanding someone, and that's a different frequency. And I feel like we are talking a lot about frequencies here because, and this could be simply because you might be in that transition of like wanting to raise your vibes. You might be in that gig, you know, like, okay, I want to raise my vibes, I want to ascend, I want to get to that, you know, I want to feel out that 5D thing, you know, that you might have heard about by now. And that's how you do it though. It's by changing your own interior universe and perspective, and that's how you can expand and raise yourself up vibrationally, so to speak. The more you understand where you place negative feelings, the higher you go, the more you expand, because the understanding frequency is there versus just the label. Oh, I don't like you. It's like, okay, I don't like you, but that's because I am projecting this, and that means what about myself? So we're looking at the mirror effect, being aware of, and two, this comes from the scales we're looking at with the mother of pearl iridescent. There's kind of a mirror effect where it's like what's bouncing off of them might really be speaking to you about what you need to look at within you in order to expand your consciousness in the ways that you want to. And this can also be vice versa, where if you're the mirror, you might find people projecting things onto you. So if you ever feel like you're the target of BS from other people, and all you're doing is going about your merry way in your own, with your personality as you are, just being who you are, with no ill intention, and yet people might be projecting onto you certain things, your best bet is to not take it personally and understand that you might have a mirror energy. Some people, a lot of people have a mirror energy where they bring out kind of like certain toxic things in people where they might see it in you in order for you to bounce it back onto them, for them to grow and understand that it is a projection from themselves. But it's not for you to teach them that. Maybe it is, I don't know, but it's for them to understand. So saying that, this could mean that you've had kind of a rough, like growing up hood, so to speak. You might have had a rough youth, like growing up, where almost like maybe even picked on or bullied in a sense, but only because those people are drawn to your mirror energy that reflects back to them what they need to fix. So if anything comes from this, like a message, it would be that your best bet for your own growth and happiness would be to not take anything personally. And you might already know that, but if you were to focus on it and practice it so that you become a master at not taking anything personally, like if you were to actually place your focus on that for a time period, you know what I mean, like actually work on it, you will notice differences. Because there's a difference between knowing it and understanding the concept of not taking things personally, but then there's also practicing it whenever it happens, being very mindful of it, and from there you will see changes and growth happen. You become a different version of yourself when you truly practice it. Not that understanding and knowing about it simply is not enough, like that's great in itself, but let's take it to the next level. So I feel like this might be coming up just in the case that you in your current life might be in a transition period, again, where it's like where I was talking about, oh, you might be wanting to raise your vibes, but it also might be like where you feel like, okay, I want to take this to the next level, even if you don't have words to articulate what this is. Almost like I'm ready for something, and you might not know what it is. In this case, I feel like this dragon energy is coming through because you can really use it. If you've never used the energy of, we'll say, interdimensional beings, because that's what the dragon is, it's an interdimensional being. If you've never used that, like you tapped into energy like that before, this would be an excellent example, because it's a very like palpable energy. When you think of a dragon, if you were to imagine a dragon standing before you, and we can even say that's you, the dragon standing before you, know what I mean? So you're not like, who are you, dragon? It's like you. Okay, you in dragon form. If you were to stand across from you in dragon form, how would it feel? That's what we're looking for. That's how you tap into energy. The feeling of that magnificent creature. Just the feeling. It doesn't have to say or do anything. You can feel its presence. That's its energy signature, and you can tap into that energy and draw it into you just simply through intention and visualization. That's how powerful your mind is. And I want to say, if you haven't tried that, go ahead and try that. Yes, and if you were to try that, visualize the dragon of you, your aspect, being this mother of pearlescent shimmeringness. And just visualize it. Try it for a week of visualizing meeting your dragon self for a week. Have a conversation with it. Talk to it. Whatever. Just basically like interact with it. See if it wants to take you somewhere. See what, you know what I mean? Like interact. Take like a week or even 2 weeks or whatever every day and just go into like a meditative state of visualization and try it. See what happens. I'd be very, very curious to know what happens or how it makes you feel. Okay? So, let's see. Let's go to the first important day. Okay, so the first important day here, we have the move, 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 let's go card. That's usually when we're seeing people leaving, someone leaving or fleeing, and the relationship involved is the soulmate card. So we're looking at a soulmate, and this is a lonely card. This right away, what comes through is this is a day when you determine that you want to take up, I want to say this is how they're putting it, you want to take up residence in another body, in another dimension, in another experience. And I feel like this is when you decide, I want to do the human thing. And I want to say that why is because we are seeing a fleeing of sorts. Even though I don't want to say the dragons have like a fear-based mode, it's almost like a self-protection mode, in the sense of like, it's the kind of feeling where it's like, you know how like the white man, you know, came in and destroyed the natives population, and they, you know, like that BS. Or it's like that movie, like, you know how they say like the movie Avatar, it's like a parallelism to the, you know, white man coming to that, you know, planet to destroy the natives planet just to reap the resources from it. Sorry, I can't speak today. It's like that feeling where foreigners are coming in, and it feels like the foreigners would be something like humanoid, you know, like that kind of thing, or it could be human. And this is when they, I feel like, leave the dimension and go to either a different dimension or another realm or whatever it might be. You know, and bear with me, I'm not here to change your belief systems when it comes to interdimensionality, but this is what this feels like. So it could be Earth, or it could be where they started was Earth and they left Earth, or where they the dragons, started on one realm of Earth and went into an interdimension or a different dimension on Earth. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so this could be Earthbound. So if you actually have a connection to, I want to say, Mama Earth, if that's your gig, if you're Earth baby kind of thing, then that would make sense if they stayed on Earth but in a different realm. Up here it felt like it was off Earth. What's going on then? Okay, so that's all it is. Okay, so it's just another dimension is what it is. Alright, so we're looking at a switchover. The soulmate comes in with your dragon mates. And I say that because I feel like that's the term closest to what they would use for each other, is like a mate, as in like friend. soulmate, like, so we're looking at like soul friends, soulmates, soul friends, which you can have more than one. And then the lonely card feels like you want to explore the dichotomy of varying beings. Once you saw the foreigners come into your place and be the way they were, you wanted to understand why, and the only way to do that at that level was to transition into their form to figure it out. So, okay, so what this feels like is if you are triggered by the whole concept of people pushing people out of their land, it would come from this. That's like this in a nutshell. The most simple way to put it is like, that would trigger you when people are pushed out of their land, or it could be like other kinds of variations of it, like if someone is thrown out of their home, or if someone is made to leave their residence, if someone, it's also like the idea of immigration or emigration, just the leaving because of a force behind it, whether it's violent or whether it's a lack of, like there's a lack of resource, so there's deprivation or hunger, so people have to leave, or if people are being chased out, tormented, violated, whatever, and forced to flee. So if that is a trigger for you, like on a big scale, like an emotional trigger for you, it comes from this, and this feels like it's the stem of the reason why this dragon aspect was like, I'm going to check out this whole human thing. All right, so just keep that in mind and see how you connect with that. And if not, again, tuck in the back of your mind for a later time. Understanding too, okay, so here's the thing. The soulmates were the dragon, your dragon mates, okay? It could be that one or two followed you and others stayed. Because there's something about them where there's an aspect of dignity where they don't want to leave the powerful form that they have. So we actually are looking a bit at ego, but not ego in the sense of vanity, ego in the sense of I am so used to this form of power and I'm happy here, so I'm going to maintain the dragon aspect, if that makes sense. So we can also be looking at you as someone who may have an ego, but not in the sense of like, I'm better than everyone, but an ego in the sense of like, I love who I am. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this about yourself. Like certain aspects about yourself, you might be very like happy with or proud of, but not prideful. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a fine line. So we're looking at a healthy ego, but that can also mean that it's a message coming through for you that there is such a thing as healthy ego. The line comes when it crosses into arrogance. So it might be that either one, you might have an arrogant sense about you, hold on, only to experience it in ways that this aspect hasn't, or it could be that you are sensitive to other people who are arrogant and it might trigger you and bother you. So we're just looking at how the theme of confidence versus arrogance plays on your psyche, like how it plays in your emotionality, right? This can also mean that you could possibly meet with other people who have transitioned from dragon to human, and I feel like you would know those people because of that. Almost, I want to say that's probably how you will recognize your soul mates in this life. And soulmate, is not always romantic. It can be a best friend, whatever it might be. But you might recognize these people by these people having a healthy sense of confidence or a healthy ego versus arrogance. Like they have a good heart, They're not like, oh, I'm better than you. They're just like, hey, I'm happy with this about myself. That kind of thing. Where I guess it's like the whole thing of like, not being humble about things that are obviously something to be happy about yourself with. How people downplay themselves when you really don't have to. It's like, why are you downplaying yourself? Like that kind of thing. Okay, yeah. This lonely card could indicate as well that if you have not run across these soulmates in your life yet, and it's very possible that that has happened and they are yet to show up, it could be that you have felt like you have not found your tribe yet. Where are my people? Where are the people who speak my language? Where are the people that I can just be myself around? Where are the people that draw out my authentic self and I can just be that way? Like that kind of thing. If you haven't found those people yet, I want to say that it feels like there's at least one or two that followed you into this realm, this human thing. And if you haven't found them yet or come together yet, then the things that we are talking about that you might want to tap into or feel out that we had talked about before, when you start partaking in that inner work, you're going to clear space and it will attract them in. And I feel like if you feel like you found one of them, there's at least another one coming up, if that makes sense. And I feel like you'll easily recognize them. Oh, I know. The visualization I told you about, where you are like to interact with your dragon aspect in a visualization. You remember that? I feel like if you were to do that and get kind of practiced or familiar with that energy, then you can use that to sense the energy of your dragon mates in this life that have come and followed you in. It would feel similar. So that might be very interesting for you to try. And I've never had a reading like this before. This is very interesting to me. Okay, let's go to the next important day, but keep making connections where you can hear. This can also indicate that you're someone that likes to try a lot of new things or try new things that intrigue you, and but almost like in a way where other people would be like, oh, there's no way I would do that. Like, why would you do that? Like that kind of thing, where it's almost like testing your boundaries. Like you might like to push yourself or test yourself or step out of the comfort zone, where other people might find it very hard to do that. You might be very good at that because of you doing that here, stepping out of the dragon aspect to the human aspect. That's a huge uncomfortability, quite frankly. On the other hand, if you're someone that does not like change, doesn't like to do that, it's because when you did that from here to human, from dragon to human, you didn't realize how uncomfortable it would be coming out of this form to this form. And therefore, you might be like, I'm not doing that again. You know what I mean? So we're looking overall at a theme of how you are when it comes to stepping out of your comfort zone to try new things. Because that's a theme here. Do keep in mind this dragon aspect, however, is still there. Like, it's still there to go back to. So it's not like you left Dragon World forever. You know what I mean? This realm is available to you because you're already a part of it. So this means that you can travel with your consciousness during meditation or dream state to this realm. And you also it might even click in case you have had dreams where you've gone to another realm. You might have dreamed of dragons or a place where you feel like they might be or might exist. And that would be your consciousness just traveling home to visit. So keep that in mind. And you can also send that out as a message if you want to try it, if you haven't done it yet, where you go to sleep and you're like, I want to visit my home place, my home realm or whatever, and see what you dream about if you're a dreamscaper, you know, and keep a journal by your bed because that helps you remember dreams more vividly when you start writing them down. So just keep that in mind and remember that this does take practice for some people. Some people, immediately. Other people, it can take days, weeks, months, you know what I mean? So just be patient with yourself and have fun with what we're talking about. These like what you might want to try doing. Have fun with it and it will go more smoothly, okay? All right, so next important day here. This is the Mother Nature card. With the Mother Nature card, and a lot of times this indicates a natural disaster, comes the Soul Group card for the relationships. And that is, again, it's the same feeling as this, where it's a bunch of people. So it's a group of beings, people, energy that you reincarnate time and time again with to learn lessons from. And sometimes these people come back and they're not super friendly or nice or whatever because you still have to learn lessons in ways that are not super comfortable, we'll say. So sometimes your soul family can be an enemy to you in your human mind. Like, this person, because they trigger you to make you feel a certain way so that you learn from it, so that you grow. So this is just a reminder that even if you don't like certain people, not to build the energy of dislike around them. Rather, whenever you feel triggered by someone, go into yourself. Figure out what's being triggered in you so you can learn a lesson and grow, and that person it'll basically more quickly make that person go away. Like it'll take them out of your reality, or it will make them less, what's the word? Less, they'll have less of a footprint, we'll say. As soon as you realize, okay, like it's that whole mirror thing too. So even though you're a mirror, it doesn't mean you're not going to run into other mirrors. And your soul group, a lot of times they act as mirrors as well. Just keep that in mind. So instead of spending any time or energy hating on someone, I know that's an intense word and I'm not saying you do hate anyone, but instead of spending time and energy, we'll say disliking someone or being bothered by someone or trying to figure someone else out that bothers you, you go right to the source of yourself and be like, okay, why does this bother me? What's going on in me? And again, that will quickly help alleviate their energy from your life, we'll say. All right, so the feeling though with this is quite capable and incapable card. It's a card of duality. You can feel capable, incapable, or both. So I feel like the Mother Nature card, it's not so much a natural disaster as it is speaking to Mother Nature as in your humanity, and how in the case that during your life you have felt misplaced, or you have felt like you are on unstable grounds, we'll say, and this could be how you have always felt, how you felt in the past, or if you're coming upon a time when you feel unstable, this would be a call for you to really harness this dragon energy, because here's the thing about the dragon energy, it's grounded and stable, yes, but the dragon, what's coming through is that it has many modes of transport. And it also has like many modes of, because it has many modes of transport, what does it mean? It means it has many modes of, I want to say, settling, landing, taking off, and moving more so than we do as humans. So if you're coming from this energy into human energy, you might feel like you are missing something or lacking something, or feel unstable, like up in the air kind of thing. If that's the case, this would be for you to tap into the dragon energy. It's almost like being given to you as like a, not like a formula, but kind of. Like, hey, whenever you are feeling ungrounded, unstable, or undecisive almost, and this like capable, incapable card, it's because it's like, okay, what are we doing here? What are we doing? That kind of thing. It's almost like I want to say, take a breath and tune into this aspect of you and make the decision or move forward or take the next step as this dragon person, as this dragon being, as though you have inhabited the body and the dragon of you, in you, whatever, is taking the next step. And you can visualize it and feel it. And I feel like that's going to help you make decisions, feel grounded, and I want to say go at a steady pace forward, if that makes sense in any way. So just make connections with that, because the Mother Nature card is talking about your human nature versus dragon nature, where dragon nature, it feels like it's old as time. It's knowing, it's clear, there's clarity, there's decisiveness, it feels very like just whole and grounded. So whenever you're not feeling that way, as it's very normal to feel that not this way as a human, it's very normal to feel like uncertain, indecisive, unknowing, because we don't know the future, like things like that. Become the dragon. I can't believe I just said that, but literally, like, try it. Literally, metaphorically. However, allow the energy of the dragon to kind of, I want to say, to wear it like a cloak, for lack of better words, or step into the dragon, what am I trying to say, like persona, or the dragon figure, and then move forward with whatever is going on in your life and see how that changes you. See how it alters your mentality, emotionality, decisiveness, whatever it might be, how it may make you feel very grounded and connected and aligned and in tune. If you're looking for those things, I feel like this is where you'll get them. And it's like almost like I want to say you've had it all along. That's what I think they, when they say, oh, you have the answers within you, you always have the answers. It's like, yeah, we do. But there are certain mechanisms and tools and ways that work differently and subjectively for certain individuals based off of certain energies that they contain within themselves that others may not. And you happen to have dragon energy. Use it. All right. So keep making connections where you can. And we're going to go to the death card. So here we have disease and illness card for the death. So what I want to say is that we already talked about the transition. The transition feels like the sickness. So entertaining the human vessel will say, I want to say did not feel as good as they thought it would feel, or as good as this guy, this dragon aspect thought it would feel. I want to say it almost feels like smushing, if you're smushing this huge energy into the tiny vessel of a human being. Like let's imagine this dragon. Okay, the size of the dragon, what they're like kind of showing me is, if you've ever seen the movie Spirited Away, it's an animated movie, and if you haven't, that's fine. You just might want to Google the dragon, and that dragon, that's kind of the size. So it's like this big dragon that you can even like ride on. It's like this huge dragon. It's not this little dragon. And it's like taking that energy of this dragon, not to mention the dragon can, fly and do all these like amazing things, all the abilities of this dragon, and squeezing it into a little human form. Like, how silly is that? So the disease and illness card, it's not that you died, it's the transition. And what this might feel like to you to connect in your current life might feel like, you might feel like you should have been, I want to say, like bigger, larger. It might be that I don't know what size you are or whatever, but size doesn't matter, but it's just how you feel. So you might have felt like, I should be a giant, or you might have always been fascinated by very large people. You might be a very large person, and you might feel like you want to keep growing. It could be because, again, huge energy trapped in small human body. Even the most overweight body on in human form is still small compared to the dragon. You know what I mean? So anything like that, but also make connections with things that are similar to this concept that we're talking about here, about this form fitting into something else. So it almost feels like, okay, so then it's almost like, do you feel like you don't fit in? I know, super general, super abstract. There's tons of people who feel like you don't fit in, but that would also be part of this too. Just because a lot of people feel that way doesn't mean that you don't feel that way because of this cool, interesting, extraordinary circumstance of fitting a dragon form into a human body. I mean, heck, you might even just like the word dragon, or use dragon in something, or I mean, honestly, it's the kind of thing where if like you were a kid and you would love to draw dragons, like it could be the most random thing connecting you with dragons. But as far as this goes, that's the illness. It's not like sniffle illness. It's illness of feeling like you might even feel very uncomfortable or icky in your body and you don't know why. Or you might look in the mirror and be like, this isn't me. If you've ever done that and you're like, is that really me? Like, this is what I chose? Like that kind of thing. So just make connections however you can when it comes to that. And we're going to move to the lesson card. This is the work all night, work all day, work hard card. I feel like the thing coming through about this dragon energy, the hardest it had to work was after it got curious enough to transition. And I feel like the hard part was the transition, and still might be the transition of the human experience. So it might feel to you like the human experience, just in general, like life, the human experience is work. And that might mean that it takes extra effort for you to actually work, like a job or school or whatever. You might see other people doing it maybe easier than you, not because you're not smart or capable, but because it just might be exhausting. So I want to say, actually, if you find that you have chronic fatigue or that you're tired a lot when you feel like you shouldn't be tired, that would be a connection too. But this would also be a message for you that the work, the job that you're here to do on planet Earth is experience being human. So don't discredit yourself if you do feel, let's say, like tired, exhausted, or like just going through doing this whole human thing. That is part of your purpose and job here. That's why you came here, to observe and to understand. So this can also mean that you might do very well in psychology, or as a therapist, or as someone that interacts in the human experience that furthers your understanding of humans and the human experience. Which can also mean that you might feel like an observer a lot, or you might be very intrigued by watching people and how they are behaving, reacting as well. This can also indicate if you find that you have mimicked people in order to fit in. It'd be because of the observer mode that you came in with as the dragon, to be an observer, to understand this human thing. So don't be hard on, basically I'm saying don't be hard on yourself. The message is from this card. Don't be hard on yourself if you do find that this whole thing is very exhausting. This whole human thing is exhausting and feels like work a lot of the times. And to make sure that you are taking care of yourself in the sense of finding peace and being gentle with yourself and not judging yourself as much as possible. And there's another thing with this working thing. Yeah, it's basically make sure that the work you are choosing to do in your life brings you more joy than hardship, because I want to say every moment of being a human is part of the job anyway. Even if you didn't realize that's what you signed up for as a dragon, the dragon aspect is working every day that you're a human being, being a human being, even when you're not technically at work, you know what I mean? Like a career, kind of like a job or whatever it might be. So that's why I'm saying be gentle with yourself, because you're working even when you're not working. So that also means to make sure that you are trying your best or taking steps towards, if you don't or haven't already, finding a job or a career that allows you more enjoyment than not. And also, I want to say utilizes more, I want to say fun, playfulness, or creativity than thinking, doing. That would indicate a lot of work, like hard work, like without the enjoyment part. So at least make it where it's at least like I want to say like 65%, 75% where you're enjoying it, and the rest is like technical work. You know what I mean? It's like almost like I want to say just do that for yourself. But yeah, anyway, keep making connections where you can with this card. And I think that's pretty much it. So there is your Starseed reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections from all of this. And thanks for letting me read you.